Ladies and gentlemen, it has been quite the whirlwind on Sportswire Radio the last 24 hours. You might have heard what my last guest said last night about his career, and now we're going to certainly top that and some, and especially if you've had my day today, I promise you, we're going to certainly feel a little bit of a savage-like animal attitude here from our guest, who is literally just hours before one of his biggest matches of his career, and maybe even for the family's sake. I'm going to talk about that. Plus, I'm going to talk about his journey in the world of wrestling and also what's ahead coming up here and Vortex from our friends at NEW New Underground Wrestling, and also here coming up in a match that he very well could make the man that was last on here nearly 2 weeks ago either submit or pass out. I'm going to talk about that, all of it, and some. And our guest here tonight needs no further introduction, but because, after all, Redux got that introduction over the past month or so, and also because Mr. Matthews is actually coming back on tomorrow to take his place in the history books in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, I have to give our guest that resounding introduction that so many of his colleagues have gotten, and maybe even a few other people that he's going to share a locker room with coming up in the first weekend of June at Riot in the Ring. He's going to talk about that, maybe even and some. So it's a Wednesday night. It's already after 10 o'clock. For some people that watch Sportswire Radio, it might be past your bedtime. So let's give our guest tonight that introduction that he most certainly deserves, or after all, he'll knock me out. So let's get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show. The man they simply call, from New Underground Wrestling, my friend, how are you?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me on your show. It is much appreciated.
Absolutely. And I was really it was funny because today I was I really wanted to be here, and it was I thought my day would have, honestly, I would have been in bed most of the day. Yes, and I want to say hello to the dog, too. In fact, you might need the dog when it comes to Power Surge and Redux. We'll certainly get to that in a little while, but I was really excited for this one because we spoke about this, and we kind of set the tables for you to come on here. As a matter of fact, 13 days ago, when the man you're going to be facing in the ring, just about 72 hours or so in the ring. And certainly, yes, you might need that dog. You very well may need that dog. And you are certainly welcome to introduce the dog to our world here on Sportswire Radio. So, DSavage, I mean, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, hopefully you've got a few milk bones in the refrigerator there for the dog. And will it be a dog day like for Power Surge, for what you may have in store for him coming up this weekend at Stay Alive?
Well, first off, to introduce the dog.
Yes, I like the dog.
His name is Samson, and it's
Samson. Wow.
It's past his bedtime, but he doesn't care.
It's Wednesday night. We're prime time. We're live on Sportswire Radio. We got over 30 people watching us already. I mean, I can't blame the dog. I mean, I can't certainly blame Samson. I mean, certainly Samson either a microphone or mechanical tools or something like that. So your dog, you probably could eat some mechanical tools, or maybe make people like myself mechanical tools. So, those are all things there that I would have no doubt that we'll see for sure from your dog.
Well, he loves chewing on things he's not supposed to, so...
Well, would that possibly be Redux coming up this Saturday?
Oh, I would love for him to get a hold of Redux, just have a little extra help. A lot to handle with Jake Matthews and Power Surge and Zero. So any help I can get, I'll take.
But how are you feeling though? Because we're going to certainly get to the family name in a second. Because we haven't seen Rhea Silver in a few weeks, and Redux has been walking all over everybody. You certainly had some words. You made the challenge to Power Surge, and Power Surge was here obviously a couple weeks ago, and it feels to me as if Redux is basically running the place. I mean, they're pretty much got the keys, and they've thrown them away, and nobody can really get out of their way. And kind of rhyme there for a second. But I mean, so how are we going to find a way to break what Rex has been doing one by one by one? I mean, Jake Matthews, the Born to Briefcase winner here. I mean, certainly he's the best on the card, is what he says. I mean, he pretty much said that nobody can stop Redux and everyone's going to just have to take it. I mean, so how are you going to pull this off is the better question.
Well, honestly, Surge accepting my challenge for Stay Alive was actually quite surprising because I didn't think he was going to accept it so easily after pretty much manhandling me in our first bout, making me pass out. And I guess maybe I just piqued his interest in that briefcase match just by the sheer my ability of beating his ass like I did. I'm not saying that was all one-sided, but I mean I definitely made him take notice, if I want to use Rhea Silver's catchphrase there. So I'm thinking I just got to bring him everything I got, and I've been training hard these last couple weeks, and I am dialed in, ready to go for Stay Alive.
It's funny you said that. We're going to certainly get to a bunch of links here in a little while. Also, I'm going to put some things on the screen so people can certainly tune into New Underground Wrestling and everything you guys do in the company. But, I've interviewed a lot of wrestlers. In fact, I've interviewed a lot of boxers as well in my career. And I kind of think you kind of fit the mold of both because you have certainly a look kind of similar to Mr. Power Surge, although you might be a little shorter. But that's certainly, we can certainly overlook that. But I've interviewed a lot of people before a championship match, and this is a big one. There's obviously a lot of personal animosity. There's obviously a lot of things that have boiled over here between you and Redux, and especially Power Surge. But when you're training for a match like this, where there's so much on the line, both for the championship and also for the family name, are you kind of maybe not so much training differently, but maybe trying to keep an even keel to kind of not get lost in all the kind of things that are on the line coming up this Saturday? Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Well, I can tell you it's very easy to get lost because I'm pretty much chasing the top of the mountain. Power Surge is the to me, he is the main guy. I know Jake runs the place and he's the best on the card, but Power Surge is his muscle. You look at Power Surge and you think, if I'm going to do anything here, I have to be able to beat Power Surge. And that is something I have been striving to do. So when I train, I'm training hard and I train to go the distance. So, because you got to have, Surge has that extra gas tank. And if
we had him here. I mean, listen, I said it on the show that to me, Power Surge, I don't know if I've seen, and I've interviewed a lot of people, so this is certainly, I'm giving him a lot of praise. I'm going to give you praise shortly as well, so certainly hang on tight there. But I don't think I've seen anybody that I've covered in independent, backyard, underground pro wrestling, whatever you want to call this. I always say it's all wrestling matters. That is got the look that he has, and that is in the shape that he is. I mean, this man is literally a powerlifter. This man, is a fitness trainer. This man has competed in all different types of bodybuilding contests. I mean, this man has really had an incredible journey. I mean, I don't even know if I've seen anybody like him. So it's almost in a way difficult to prepare for somebody like this. I mean, you're obviously training in a certain way. So maybe I should ask it. I mean, I know you've done a lot. We're going to certainly get into that, but do you train or are you thinking differently? I mean, just walk me through that.
Yeah, like pretty much the way I'm thinking is every rep is my last rep. I have to, if I can't do this, I can't beat Power Surge. So that's the way I'm training. Because I have to beat him if I want really, anyone else to take me seriously, I guess, because Redux just think I'm a joke. You know,
Well, I mean, the record speaks for itself right now.
exactly. The record, I'm down 0-2 against them. Well, no, it's 2-1. I beat zero at rivals. So, but
Yeah. I mean, you
yeah,
haven't went over zero, and zero we haven't spoke about much. And that's also another factor. I mean, does zero concern you at all anyway? Do you think zero could potentially be, well, a factor? Maybe not a zero factor, because if he's zero factor, then, well, that means there wouldn't be any factor in Redux. But trying to work on my stand up comedy. But are you concerned about the numbers game? I spoke certainly with Power Surge, and we spoke about the numbers game. I want to come back to something you said about Jake, and I want to talk about that in a few minutes in a different context. But they have the numbers game. How do you kind of compete with that?
I mean, if you saw the Born to Battle
Yes, I did.
briefcase
I
match,
absolutely did.
they had numbers there where Surge and Matthews and Rhea and I aren't necessarily like intertwined, so I really didn't care what was going on to Rhea. I was mostly just worried about myself. So in that essence, when it was 2v1 in those situations, you saw them ganging up on me, and wasn't the best time. I
Well,
can tell you
obviously
that.
2-1-1. I mean, I'm not good at many things, but the numbers game
Yeah.
is that's hard to overcome. I mean, I don't know what to say on that, but when it comes to, let's say, a Jake Matthews for a second, you talked about the muscle that Power Surge has with Jake Matthews. Maybe saying that Power Surge kind of does some of the heavy lifting for Jake Matthews. Does Jake Matthews hide behind Power Surge? I mean, I would hide behind Power Surge too if I was anybody like Jake Matthews. And we'll certainly have Jake on tomorrow to take his place in history in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. But I mean, when it comes to those things like that, though, I mean, are you saying that one on one, that Power Surge, without all the different things, without the friendship of Jake Matthews, zero lurking, that you think that, you can even the score here and make it, well, 2-2 coming up this Saturday?
Since it's just me and Serge one on
Yep.
one, and the amount of work that I've been putting in leading up to this match, 100%. I am only focused on winning the Northeast Championship. That is my sole identity right now, is winning the Northeast Championship.
Let me ask you this question. We want to thank everybody here for tuning in, because the numbers are they're going up through the roof. So maybe somebody, put the bat signal on and they wanted to hear it, because I have almost 100 people watching us right now. So I want to say thank you for tuning in. If you are here for the first time, please hit that sub button for Sportswire Radio. Also, NEW, New Underground Wrestling. I'm going to put their links up here very shortly. As a matter of fact, you got them right there. So if you're here live, all you have to do is hit those buttons, go hit that sub, go hit that like, go hit that follow button, and you can certainly support some great company, because we're about all wrestling matters here. So you talked about the Northeast Championship. So let me ask you the question right out of the way here. Go right out of the box. We have a lot of people tuned in. What would it mean to you to be the NEW Northeast Champion?
Honestly, it would mean the world, because the way I have to do it, beating Power Surge, beating the guy that's on top. He has a crazy long run right now. I want to say
Oh my God.
broken dreams before I
Yep.
even got here. He's held that belt. So to end a reign like that would really put me on the map.
Would this be, and again, I know it's cliche, but I ask this question all the time. Tell me your thoughts. Was this the biggest match of your career coming up this weekend?
I view it as every match I do, and coming up is my biggest. So this is the biggest right now. Um, Looking at it when it's all done, I mean, maybe this could set up a run for me that's that no one can touch. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I just need that one win just to get the ball rolling.
It's funny you said that, because sometimes in sports or sometimes in wrestling, it's that one win that changes everything. All of a sudden, you go from, let's say, on the outside looking in, and then you become a champion. And you have that kind of opportunity in a way. You've been on the outside looking in, as a lot of people have in NEW. But a win this Saturday, and all of a sudden, you know what? Maybe Redux isn't what they are. Maybe there can be parity. maybe there can be a way to even the odds. Sometimes you see it a lot, especially in sports, or even we're obviously all wrestling fans. Cody Rhodes was the ultimate guy, right? He was trying to finish the story. He was trying to finally get there. He wins the last 2 Royal Rumbles. Couldn't do it last year. It had all these trials and tribulations. He finally did it. We Brian was now Brian Danielson had go through the same story. My buddy in the UK is a guy, RP Davis, who's a protege of William Regal, and he was a boxing champion that kind of had your background in a lot of ways in terms of the way you have a look and shape. And he was kind of on the outside looking in, and he finally got over the hurdle and wound up becoming one of the winner of 3 world championships in the UK. So you never know. This could be that moment. I mean, so maybe it's in a better phrase, maybe not the biggest match of your career, but it could be a watershed moment or a make or break moment.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I played basketball my whole life growing up, so I know all about momentum, building it and having it stopped. One game, one match could change the entire trajectory of your career.
That's an interesting point you brought up, and you've played basketball. So talk to me do you use any of that psyche, any of those memories, anything that helps you in terms of getting ready for Saturday? Talk to me about that.
Definitely the athleticism. I was always very athletic growing
You
up.
do look like you played basketball. For whatever reason, it's the
Yeah.
shorts. I don't know if it's like the jersey I've seen you in. I don't know. For whatever reason, you do look like a basketball player. I don't think I'd say the same thing about Mr. Power Surge, but I could certainly see you, Mr. DSavage, being a savage on the court, more or less.
Yeah, I'm a Celtics guy through and through. So I hope that doesn't rub anybody the wrong way.
No, trust me. I mean, yes, growing up, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. This is before the Brooklyn Nets, and I was a Knicks fan growing up, but I've kind of rooted for both teams. But my affinity for the NBA isn't as diehard partisan. But my other joke is at this point is that I do so many shows with so many people around the world that I almost don't have a team for anything anymore because the only team I have is the guest that comes on my show. But that's stand-up comedy for you.
I understand that.
But but I think it's interesting that you have a lot of preparation in the world of basketball. You have a lot of almost psychology, a lot of mental preparation. You have to think about, get to a free throw line, defense. You have a lot of strategy. It's an interesting sport in those concepts versus other sports. So in terms of your mental preparation, again, don't tell me how you're going to prepare for this and win this match on Saturday, but is some of that going to come into handy for you going into the match with Power Surge, which I want to talk a little bit more about the match here shortly.
Oh, definitely. Our high school coach really drilled it into us. He actually coached college before he coached high school. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was actually very privileged, and I'm very sad I only had him for 1 year, but he just drilled us on, being mentally tough, running us like dogs, and then making sure we're doing the basic things. So that's kind of where I'm at. Just getting myself dog tired and doing the things that I know I should be able to do when I am pretty much like blacked out or just too tired to move. Just train hard.
Well,
Pretty much it.
that's as a good way as you can put it. Let me say hello to a couple of people. I want to thank everybody here. I'm closing in on 100 people now watching us. So for whatever reason, we seem to be on fire on all platforms. I want to say hello to my buddy who's actually going to be in your chair next Friday. He is the good guy, CJ Black. He's going to take his place into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame next Friday. So how you doing, CJ Black? Ethan Sorensen says, how you guys doing today? I think we're doing great. I'm here. I'm alive. And as I said to the guy in Walgreens earlier today, every day above ground is still a good one. So I still stand by that. But we'll certainly see. But, I want to talk about, in a sense, and I want to put the links up here for NEW because we have a lot of people tuned in. I want to make sure that they get those, important social media channels and also for you as well. But it's a knockout or submission match. Now, this is interesting because this is not a normal, standard, traditional wrestling match. This is not a match where it's okay. It's 1, 2, 3, you win the match. So do you feel in some ways that maybe this could give you a little bit of an inside track based on what you're telling me tonight, based on kind of how you're preparing for this, based on kind of what you're doing to get ready for it, your mental aspect of it, the knockout or submission part? How does that make you feel in going into Saturday?
Well, I always wanted to try um, mixed martial arts, so I
Okay.
actually contemplated quitting my job back in 2018 to try to learn,
Wow.
learn boxing and some type of grappling. Um, but I just
Wow,
never,
I give you credit that you were gonna quit your job to do that.
I
I give you
couldn't pull the trigger. So now having the opportunity to do it here, um, is great because I'm ready to really showcase uh, what I wouldn't say I have a lot of the MMA skill, but you watch it enough, you think you do, right?
Oh, I listen, I mean, everybody now is kind of, in a way, has some form of that in the arsenal. So, again, without giving anything away, and certainly we're gonna plug it in a second for people to watch, would you say that there'll be different things in the arsenal that we'll see from you, whether it was at Anti Everything or most recent Vortex shows? Is it fair for me to say, based on what you're telling us tonight, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, that there'll be a little bit of a different arsenal coming from you on Saturday?
Yes, this is the first time they've done this type. I think blood sport is kind of the word they threw
Yes.
around a little bit.
Yep.
So it's going to be mad different than the other matches I've been in. So I'm looking forward to it. And not have to worry about getting pinned is, that's a pretty nice luxury to have.
It's funny you said that because I would kind of think the same way. Because I think sometimes when you think about, okay, I've got to, kick out, or I've got to all of a sudden get up and I've got to pace myself differently. I think that's where kind of a knockout or submission match maybe, I don't want to say allows you to pace yourself differently, but it maybe in a sense kind of more or less allows you to almost throw everything out there figuratively and literally, but the kitchen
Hmm.
sink. And you might even want to do that because, again, after all, that's what NEW has to offer. So I kind of think, in a way, going back to sports terms, it's almost like you're basically letting it all hang out there and basically playing as a free spirit. So that allows you maybe to be like kind of your name, DSavage.
Yeah, like I'm training to go however long I need to go. If this goes, 2 minutes or it goes an hour, like I'm ready to go.
Does that, in a way, make you, let's say, going into something like this, are you more excited? Are you anticipating this moment? Maybe, let's say, as we're getting closer. I know sometimes you get to a championship match and it's almost like, okay, it's there, but this, from what you're telling me, you might be anticipating this a little bit more.
So the first time around, I did not appreciate the opportunity I kind of had with Surge back at Insanity Calamity. I did not come in as prepared, leading up to the fight. So it surprised me a lot on his strength and his speed for his size. So um,
You mean to
after
tell
a
me
couple,
that you were looking at him? You mean to tell me you didn't or not think things? I mean, I had the
um,
man here, right? I mean, literally, the man could have probably been in like a world's strongest man competition, and I've seen him, as you've obviously seen him more so than I have because you've been in the ring with him. I mean, this man could literally. I mean, he makes guys that have come on here that say they're big, and he makes them look like, well, I would say like a sack of potatoes.
well, he is much faster than he looks, and I did not anticipate that. So I thought I was going to have the edge in this. I'm a bigger guy myself, but I thought
For
I was going to
sure.
have the edge, but I was wrong. So cost me a little bit there in that first one at Insanity Calamity. So
So let me ask you this question, and it's a great segue. And while we're doing that, I want people to follow once again our friends here at NEW, and you have all the links here. So please go out and support them. You have so many different links which we're going to pull up here shortly: Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and obviously we'll see if Mr. DSavage will join the ranks of some of these champions by usurping Mr. Power Surge himself. But let me ask you, you made a great point, and I was going to talk to you about that. So you kind of basically did the work for him. You could certainly take over for me on Sports by Radio. But how much have you either thought about the first match with Power Surge, or maybe in a different one? Maybe you can answer it in both ways. How much have you watched the first match since it took place to get ready for this one?
Oh, that's the thing. I've watched it so many times. Like it's literally like watching film and basketball back in high school,
Sure.
stopping it, rewinding it, analyzing little things, what I could have done better, what I should have done. It it haunts me. But those are moments, kind of moments that I needed, and it's just going to help me going forward. So that's how I'm looking at it. Can't hold my head down on that.
No, you definitely can't. And I want to say hello to somebody in a second from the company, but you can't obviously change the past, right? We can only learn from it. And I'm always a believer in that. You can certainly overcome adversity, but it's interesting that you talked about that you watched that match a lot. As I said, I have guys come on from all over the place. I've done a lot of boxing in the past, and speaking with boxers, because to me, this match is a little different than the standard match that you might see or a standard championship match. And I would speak with a lot of people, and they would say, Tom, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch the tape from the first time. I just want to forget about it and kind of start differently. But yet you kind of went back and watched it over and over again. Could you have maybe not watched it and kind of just blacked it all out and started anew? So I'm curious because again, there's always that mindset that fighters or wrestlers will want to forget about what happened the first time they're in the ring with somebody and almost kind of start anew, kind of like the name, right? New Underground Wrestling.
My the way I think, if I just forget about it, I'm bound to make the same mistake again. So
Fair.
as long as I'm watching it and I understand what I did and how to correct it, I feel I shouldn't make the mistake again. So that's my thought process. Even in the wins, I'm looking back on the wins, what I could have done a little better, maybe get him out of there a little sooner. So,
That's a great point. And I'm glad you said that because sometimes people say, oh, well, I won. I don't have to change anything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But sometimes in your wins is where actually you have your most glaring mistakes because when we do something right, we never think to change it. We never think to
mhm.
improve upon something, but you actually take a different route there. I think that's extremely fascinating, and why say something like that on air?
Um, I'm just I'm just honest. You're just
I
gonna
can
get
see that,
honesty out of me. I
obviously.
don't.
Well, the people seem to like it. I mean, I have over 110 people watching now, so you must be saying something right that I
Well,
suppose
yeah.
that people seem to be, liking, and I'm glad that they like it. But let me say hello to Mr. Alberto Rodriguez, who says, "What's up, Tom? What's up, Savage?" By the way, Savage will show people he's up next.
I'm up next. Yep.
You are up next. You are
I
definitely
am
up
up
next, and
next.
and I guess we'll have to watch it. By the way, this coming Saturday, but I want to say hello to Albert. And I want to say thank you to Alberto for all that you do. And I stuttered on my words because I almost choked on what I was drinking. But you were drinking something healthy. I wasn't. I was drinking Mountain Dew because I honestly was looking at legal documents for 7 hours. And I was like, when can I get out? It was like a nightmare. But here nor there, we're off the air. I want to get to a question from Ethan Sorensen. He's got a great question. He says, what would be your most favorite match in your career? Maybe even one that you've rewatched from your career. I think it's a good question in terms of where we are going into this Saturday. Do you have a moment that you
Yeah.
maybe had as a favorite or watched most recently? I'd be curious on that.
So, I mean, I've been doing this only, maybe 8 months at this point. So it's,
Eight
my
more months
list
than
of
me. 8 more months than me.
my list of matches is kind of low, but I really liked my performance at Northeast Extravaganza
Yes.
against Justin Abel saying that's kind of the where I had to.
I'm very intrigued by Justin Abel saying, by the way. There's something very intriguing about him.
He is quite the guy, let me tell you. Like,
He's our
great.
fight zone champion, obviously.
Yeah, fight zone champion. What else can you say?
Just he likes
But
to fight.
oh, he does. I mean, he put one hell of a fight up in that match at Northeast Extravaganza,
He
and
did.
so far, that was my first complete performance I put together, and was able to get the victory over that over Justin. So I'm taking that one.
That's a good one. I like that answer. Speaking of people, by the way, who are also at about 8 months experience, maybe a month or two ahead of you, my very good buddy, also from the state of Pennsylvania, this time via the DBW world, Mr. Big Tex, he is the big man. He says, "Good evening, Reverend," and he also says, "Welcome to the Newbies Club." I mean, do you feel like you're in the Newbies Club? I don't know if I would say you're a newbie.
I mean, I still feel very new. There's a lot of things I still have to learn. I do my best to watch the other guys and try to pick up the little bit of knowledge that they will hand out. It's not easy getting it from them, but you
Well,
know,
I could certainly sympathize, but that's an interesting point, and I want to come back to it for a second. I want to put your Instagram up so people can follow that because I'm trying to be. I'm working on new things on technology. I'm working on new banners, new displays, but do you maybe ask for advice from people? Are there people that you go to and ask for advice to kind of help you in terms of just in continuing to improve in the ring? I think that's a fascinating question. I always ask guys from all over the world that'll come on the platform.
so honestly, it's been crazy because since I got here and up till now, things have flipped. Before when I got here, Redux didn't wasn't back, so
Yep.
I was able to ask Jake about things. I was able to ask Power Surge about things, but then it's only maybe 2 months, and then they formed Redux, and then everything kind of went the way it
Kaboom.
did. So those revenues of information were no longer available. Uh, but Justin Abel's saying he's a great guy to get information. Leonidas, he's been doing it for a
I was
while.
going to mention Leonidas because I happen to know Leonidas very well from our friends over in the TF crew, and I would even
Yeah,
throw in there. I don't know how well you know him or how much advice he gives these, but he's certainly been very, very well known in some of the places he's gone to. Maybe Mr. Gabe Sayers. And I don't really share a locker room with Gabe, but I would always think Gabe would be a kind of up and coming wealth of information, Mr. Sayers.
yeah. Gabe is helpful. He loves doing Beals. I'll tell you that.
I'm aware of
Yeah,
that.
he will just Beal till his life until he's content. I mean, I told him one day, I'm like, listen, I'm not doing it. Like, I'll do it when I have to. I ain't just gonna jump in here right now. Like,
Well, Gabe is certainly. I can't say anything negative about Gabe because Gabe's actually the reason why I'm probably talking to you. So I would have to say I'd be a total
yeah,
hypocrite, and I don't want to be a
yeah,
hypocrite because Gabe has actually been one of my biggest supporters. In fact, actually, Gabe is probably the reason I have become friends with some guy Jimmy Controversy. But that's a different conversation for a different time. But I do have another wealth of information from Mr. Big Tex. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'll let you know what he thinks. Little tip: watching others in the ring, asking questions, and watching tape are your best friend, which you kind of mentioned, by the way. You watch a lot of tape.
yes. I mean, I watch old matches. Honestly, until I started wrestling, like I didn't really care for Bret Hart, but once I started learning how to wrestle, those his matches were kind of like, now I'm interested.
Yeah, I could see
Learning the
that.
little tricks.
I could see that because a lot of the British guys that I'm friends with, which you kind of remind me of a couple of guys that I'm friends with over there. Certainly the asset Stephen Cross, kind of like you, kind of almost a bodybuilder type and power lifter and almost like Mr. Power Surge in a way. And Davey Getsky, although you have a much bigger, built than a Davey Getsky or a hybrid, for example. Hybrid's probably a great example. And you remind me so much of those guys, and especially the asset Stephen Cross. I mean, they live on Bret Hart matches. I mean, they literally could quote like every Bret Hart promo, every Bret Hart move he's done in the ring, although it's usually just 5 of them. But the point is that Bret Hart in the UK world is a really big deal. But I think also for you, was coming back to this match, his kind of the way about he would go things in the ring is maybe helpful to what you do because Bret was very much, kind of a realist in the ring. He was one of those guys, his punches looked real, the way he came across, the move set, the attitude. And if you're going to be able to be victorious coming up this Saturday, maybe you have to have that realist like mindset to go in there and black it all out and just get the job done.
Yeah, his technical wrestling is something I really have tried to pick up on. Because that's where saw myself lacking the most in the first match. That I was just getting out wrestled, and I don't want that to happen again. So I'm
That's an interesting point. because, and by the way, if you're on Instagram right now, so if you're anybody out there, please follow DSavage, because we want to make sure we support those that are going out there, and a huge part of all wrestling matters. So you can see here, he's got his own stuff in the ring. You can see he's definitely a Celtics fan. Yes, and he is definitely eating something there. Are you eating a bagel there? What are you actually eating there? Actually, a funny point. What are you eating there?
Oh,
Remind me.
that was powdered donuts from the catering.
Oh, well, you know what? Good. God bless the powder donuts there. Can't go wrong with a powder donut. But there you are. Yes, in the basketball court. Definitely there you are. And you've obviously had some gold in the past in NEW. We see that there. We see some other stuff there. So if you want to follow, certainly Mr. DSavage himself, you are welcome to do that here on Instagram at _DSavage. So very simple, straight and to the point. _DSavage. So you can certainly do that there and make sure that you follow him. So what I wanted to ask, and I'll let a few more questions come up here on the screen, but he has a lot of experience, Power Surge. He spoke a lot about his journey. His journey is far different than yours. How do you try to overcome his experience in what he's done in the ring for you to be able to come away with the victory and the Northeast Championship this weekend?
That's a very good question. I just gotta, I think, just try to be me and do it the way I feel I can do it. It's hard to really put into words.
Well, we're not going to have much more time anyway for the words, because we're going to have Vortex on Friday and you're going to be in the ring Saturday. So honestly, there really isn't that much more time for talking. But I have a good question from Ethan. I want to allow him to ask it. And I want to thank everybody here for tuning in, because I have 112 people. I said 114 people. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. But I have a great question from Ethan. And he says, if you had to pick one person from any wrestling company to have a dream opponent, who would it be and why?
I joked about this the other day on Instagram. It'd be the veteran Jack Vaughn. He's
Okay.
in OVW.
Yes, sure. I heard the name.
I love his stuff, his TikTok stuff. He's pretty funny. He seems like a overall good guy. So Jack Vaughn would definitely be my dream match.
That's a good one. That's a good one, because that's one that I could see in a lot of ways why you'd pick. So I really appreciate that you came up with a good answer, not the standard one. Well, I want to face Rey Mysterio. Well, I want to face Cody Rhodes. I was so happy that you came up with a different answer. So I was like, yeah, it's a really good answer. So thank you for that. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here. And we're having a great time here right now with Mr. DSavage, just hours ahead of his match for the Northeast Championship against Power Surge. And get this, ladies and gentlemen, a knockout or submission match. That's why you want to support the guys here in DSavage, especially these links above. Also, you can check him out on Instagram. You can check out the NEW pages on Facebook, YouTube, Patreon. So many great ways to connect with them. Instagram, you name it, they're on it. Please go out there and support them. There is always about here. All wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. And I'll be back here, speaking of NEW and speaking of Redux, Jake Matthews is going to be here tomorrow night at about 9 o'clock Eastern time to take his place into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And the Born to Battle briefcase holder is going to certainly talk about, I'm sure, some of the things you said, plus certainly what Mr. Power Surge is going to do to you. And he is probably going to be in a very jovial mood. He's going to certainly be a very happy man. I know he's celebrating being engaged recently. He's got a birthday. I mean, this guy he's winning at life, apparently. Jake Matthews is winning at life, but will he continue to win coming up this weekend? I don't know. I'm going to ask him these questions. So that's why you might want to tune in here and find out, because it's going to be one for the ages, I can assure you. But definitely it'll be one that you'll want to see, and we'll have a lot more talent ahead from New Underground Wrestling. And they are certainly not new. They are certainly a lot full of riots in the ring that are coming up. So you might certainly want to talk about that here and some with us. But again, also, I want to give a huge shout out, which I forgot to do. I want to make sure I do this here. So I want to make sure I give a huge shout out to my very good buddy, Mr. Sean Joby, the resident rock star, a fellow Hall of Famer of ours here on Sportswire Radio. He is certainly everybody's favorite rock star. And it's also a special day for him, because today is the 17-year anniversary of a company he helped start called RCW. They're based out of Wisconsin. And RCW is very special to us here on Sports by Radio. And of course, Sean Jovi was the RCW World Underground Champion. And Sean Jovi has been a guy that has been one of the most respected wrestlers, right? Maybe he has the best cannonball of any backyard wrestler. Maybe you could ask Sean Jovi for advice, because Sean Jovi has got 17 years in this sport. He would probably know how to be able to find a way to make sure Power Surge taps out, or make sure he passes out, and whatever else it might be that you need to get that job done. But Sean Jovi is definitely a dear friend of ours here on Sportswire Radio. I want to make sure it's known on all platforms here that RCW, for everything that RCW has meant to the world of backyard and underground wrestling, that it is officially RCW Day. That's right. So whether it's on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579, Twitch at Sportswire Radio, Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017, Facebook at Sportswire Radio, my personal page at Tom Bryce, LinkedIn even, and of course, sportswireradio.org, Instagram, The Sports Report 2021, and Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017. It is RCW Day. So Sean Jovi, thank you for everything that you've done in being a part of All Wrestling Matters. Thank you for everything that you've done with RCW to make it All Wrestling Matters. And we wanted to go the extra mile and make things a little special for you, my friend, and officially proclaim today on all of our platforms that it is RCW Day. Thank you, Sean Jovi, for everything that you do, and can't wait to see you back on here on Sports Radio. But we are here now with Mr. DSavage ahead of Saturday's big show for that Northeast Championship there, and our friends over at NEW Underground Wrestling. You know, I brought up Riot in the Ring. Now, Riot in the Ring is so fascinating to me because obviously some friends of the show are going to be in it, people that don't work in NEW, and it's coming up here. It's actually less than 2 months. You know, time definitely flies, and I know some guys that are coming on to Sportswire Radio real soon are going to talk about it, and Stephen Havoc, a guy I know here from New York. He is a New York hardcore wrestling legend. I mean, he has actually put guys out on the shelf and permanently retired them and almost had them go into the podcast world like me because they couldn't hang with him in the ring. I mean, this man, what he has done to his body, and he has still been going on like the Energizer Bunny, and he has had a decorated career, especially if you know anything about wrestling in the world of upstate New York and backyard and underground wrestling. Guys like Leonidas, Gabe Sayers, and even a guy coming up that was going to be here that I'm sure you're going to see in your company amongst many other people that are going to be in this. So I was curious for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, and the Riot in the Ring is coming up. And what are you looking forward to in that for sure on June the 1st?
Really, it's going to take me out of my comfort zone. I've only ever done one other hardcore match, and that was with Jake at the Massacre. So to potentially have, I think you have to win 5 to win the whole tournament. So
kind of like a modern day version of the Brawl for All in a way, maybe more wrestling, obviously, but the concept's kind of similar in that sense in terms of how many times you have to win.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how hardcore it's going to get just because of the people that are in it. I'm sure it'll be a bloodbath. With some of those guys, I'm sure.
Well, I can tell you Stephen Havoc is a man I know very, very well. He is a man that has been on my platform. He has been a man that, he's very comfortable in these spots, and he's a guy that I would certainly love to see, what he can offer here at NEW. And another guy, Jeff Nova. I know Jeff Nova very well. Obviously, Jeff Nova is I could see you certainly shaking your head there at Jeff Nova. But
again, we know Jeff Nova, all right.
Oh, I knew. That's why I brought that up, But I have to say, though, now, conversely, I just talked about Stephen Haddock. Now, he's been going out there for like 20 plus years, right? But Jeff Nova and the Riot in the Ring, I mean, does that giving you guys a good laugh or what?
Oh, I hope he gets the biggest, the baddest guy. I hope he pulls him the first round. Just whoever's the biggest and the baddest, and just beats the living crap.
Why is Jeff Nova in the Riot in the Ring? I was wondering about that because he doesn't strike me as a Riot in the Ring competitor. I mean, you seem to know Jeff Nova as well as I seem to know him, and that's kind of a peculiar one, no?
I've shared a locker room with him, and
I know you have. I know you know those guys.
I think he's a nice guy. He means well, but he just talks way too much. He just needs someone to beat him.
Well, Mr. Sayers is not a big fan of him. That I know. Mr. Sayers does not like him. Can't blame Mr. Sayers, maybe, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't have ill will toward him, but he just talks way too damn much, and he just needs the crap beat out of him. You
So
know, maybe
guys
it'll be
like
me. Maybe it'll be me. So who
you
knows?
are you saying, but you don't know obviously who you'll face, right?
No, we don't have the matches yet. So you know, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll pull him.
Interesting, interesting, interesting. I mean,
I'll hit him with a chair.
oh, you would,
Oh yeah, a couple times.
you feel pretty good about that too, right?
Oh yeah, that'd probably make my day. Even if I just beat Nova and then, you know, got absolutely mauled by one of these vets, I'll take it.
So it would be a successful day if you got to beat Nova at the very least, right? Because it would
Oh,
show that.
just beat him up. I guess I don't even care about winning. I just want to beat him up.
Does Nova have a place in this company?
I mean, listen, he's a very
Oh,
good
I know him.
wrestler.
I've watched him in the
Yeah,
TF crew. I know. I've seen him
yeah,
in some other promotions. He's a man that I've watched his work, so that's why I'm fascinated about this. I know we'll come back
yeah,
to Power Surge, but I'm fascinated about the irony of Jeff Nova in the Riot in the ring. This would almost be like the Miz wrestling, let's say, in a death match, don't you think? This would be almost like kind of the
yeah,
equivalent to it, no?
yeah. He's definitely stepping out of his comfort zone. I mean, I believe Jeff has done death matches,
But
but
I
I
don't think
don't.
Jeff Nova's middle name would be death matches, right? I don't think.
No, no, he's not no deathmatch legend or king of the deathmatch or anything like that. King of running his mouth, maybe, but
What do you think though about guys? Another guy I know very well. I'm sure you heard of Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday is a well-established man in
so
hardcore wrestling. Yeah, what do you think there?
so I actually got to. He probably doesn't remember me, but I mean,
Really?
I got to meet Doc my first time out at New. He
Okay.
was there, and then he had never come back. So I don't know why or how or what all went down, but he was there the first time, so I got to meet him one time, and I haven't made it to TF Crew yet because every time something happens, or well, every time there's a show, something happens. So
I've heard that. I've heard that. That makes sense.
yeah,
But
so
Doc
I'm
Holliday's a
actually
legend. Doc
yeah, I'm
Holliday's been around a
excited
long time.
to get to meet Doc and actually pick his brain,
That's
ask him
pretty cool.
questions.
And I want to give a big shout out to obviously New for doing this because you're getting to see people that we wouldn't see here normally. And I think that's a pretty cool thing because, we were speaking on the air yesterday with Chase Wakefield. We were talking about the fact, well, a lot of times in the backyard or in the underground, even in the independents, they don't want to almost go out of the comfort zone, right? I mean, you're obviously a guy that's starting out, and I think it's kind of really cool what we're gonna see here this summer, and I'm really looking forward to you being a part of it. I mean, it's a great roster of people in there. I mean, even Alberto Rodriguez is going to be in there. I mean, certainly, he's going to be in there. Joe Starr himself. I mean, we're going to see a number of different people here. I mean, Tyson Spade, of course, going to be a lot of our homegrown people. Obviously, Power Surge and. So many other great people. But I wanted to ask you also, just going back on your career, what did it mean to you to hold the new tag team championships?
Oh, it was great, especially taking it from Redux, beating Zero and Surge for the belts. That was probably I don't want to say it's the biggest highlight because then they're
You
gonna,
can say it. You're on Sportswire. You can say whatever you want. You're DSavage. You
so
know.
far in my championship reigns, that's been the biggest highlight. So, and I look forward to taking another championship from Surge this weekend. So I'm just gonna keep adding them.
Does that something that you also hang your head on? You know what? I've taken one championship from them. Maybe I could take two.
Exactly. You got to take the little wins because little wins will add up to the big wins.
Yep.
If you're just
Yep.
taking losses and just focusing on that, and you're not focusing on the little wins, you're just gonna be in a negative mindset. So
There's
I
an old
am,
adage. What's the old adage? Baby steps, right? Take baby steps. So the good
yeah,
news is that you got
exactly,
one. Maybe this Saturday you get two. I mean, obviously, stay tuned. But you can look at it from that aspect of it. That you've got one time you've been in the ring with him where you took a championship. Maybe you can do two of them.
yeah, and everybody, I hear all the time. Everybody outside the company, they want to come to New. They want to wrestle Jake Matthews or they want to wrestle Power Surge. Well, I'm here to let everyone know that I better be added to that list because on Saturday, when I take that belt, anybody wants it, they can come have a shot.
That's an excellent point that you just made. I'm so glad now we're starting to integrate with each other because this is where I think I'd love to hear your thoughts on because I have been covering New now for, I would say, about a month or two, right? I've obviously, Gabe has told me about this company in the past. Gabe Sayers, of course, we're naturally speaking about. And I had always heard a lot of good things about the company. And now I've got a chance to watch it. I could certainly see why. And I've even had other yarders that have never been in this company have said, oh, yeah, Jake Matthews. I know him. I've heard of him. But DSavage, you're the guy that also has this incredible figure. You're this guy that's got this look that I think a lot of people maybe overlook. So does it maybe burn at you that everybody says, yeah, I want Power Surge. Yeah, I want Jake Matthews. But you're the up-and-comer. You're the guy that's certainly the one that maybe I only uses this for motivation, but also motivation that maybe you feel slighted by a lot of the other yarders out there and the other people in the underground that maybe they should say, you know what, who I want to face on my list if I really want to be the best, if I really want to show that I can be one of the best in the yard or I can be a riot in the ring, maybe they should be adding you to that list, DSavage.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Listen, I have respect for Power Surge and Jake for everything they've done.
Hard not to. Hard not to.
Hard not to. They've been around a long time, and I'm trying to pretty much make up for the time that I don't have in the backyard or whatever you want to say.
I know. I call it the underground, the semi-pro, the backyard.
Yeah.
I just think all wrestling matters, 'cause that's the way I look at it.
So, they'll dog on me all the time. They'll steal my taunt. They'll come out and say, I'm up next. Steal my catchphrase. And it's just, I am just about to the level, I feel, of being one of the, sought after guys to wrestle. Like to pretty much say a superstar. I am one step away from being a superstar to where everybody wants a piece of me. And once I take this championship, I feel that's going to be the step I take in the direction.
Which is why I said tonight that this could be a watershed moment for you this weekend. This could be a make or break moment. This could be a coming out party for you. So maybe no longer we only say, I want Jake Matthews. I want Power Surge. No, they want DSavage because what you could potentially do in the ring to Power Surge himself, and you will have taken not one, but 2 championships from him. That's what I have said, and I had said previously this evening. Yeah. I think that's a fair statement.
Show me the list of people who've done that. I can guarantee it's less than 2. So
I was going to say, yeah, it's a short list, really short.
Very short list. Really short list. And I don't mean to put anybody else on blast, but like other companies, I've reached out to them and, they've left me on red and I'm like,
well, if they left you on red,
yeah,
I'm going to answer this for you. I'm not going to name companies because I'm not that stupid, but I will promise you this. If there are companies that have left you on the red, you tell me and I'll make sure that they go on green. And I'll make sure that Samson certainly sees that that's the case. I know your dog probably wants some dog treats soon, so I'll make sure that we get to that here soon. But, we'll certainly see, and I have no doubt that's going to change very quickly, and we'll certainly plug some social media here shortly. But I have to ask you about Rhea Silver. Rhea Silver is on the minds of a lot of people, and, certainly we saw the heinous attack from Jake Matthews after he had won the Born to Battle briefcase, and it was senseless, and I mean, I don't even want to repeat some of the things that Jake Matthews did. And, because we are, we certainly want to respect all backgrounds out here on Sportzwire Radio. And we were about all people participating in that. But that had to certainly upset you, even if you didn't have a tie to Rhea Silver. But that had to be really, I mean, it was senseless. I mean, I'm sure that you are fighting in a lot of ways for Rhea Silver this weekend. And, how did that make you feel? Everything that went down. We've seen you obviously try to get the numbers game on Redux. We've seen the last couple of vortexes, but a lot of people are wondering and just why? Why was that attack the way it was? And Jake Matthews kind of had his own, not much of a real, say on it, but he did certainly, feel that he can do whatever he wants in his bravado. But for a lot of people, it was maybe out of line.
Yeah. So after the match at Anti Everything,
Yep.
most of it I didn't see until we were already in the back. Because I got knocked off the top with a chair, and
Yep.
I came to it. Pretty much everything was done. And I could not believe that no one came out to help. Because
Why was that, you think?
it was
Why?
post match. I feel. I really don't know if it's fear or if it's ignorance. They want to just plead ignorance. I don't know why, because I would have certainly got up had I been conscious for it. So, but to see Jake attack Rhea the way he did after that match was just unexcusable, and putting Rhea's championship at jeopardy.
A hardcore championship. Yep.
It's just not something that needs to take place where we're at, and especially in Jake's position where he is at the top of the chain. He can't be doing things like that. And I hope that everything comes around and he gets what he's got coming to him.
Do you think that was a sense of, I don't know, arrogance, a sense of cockiness that he could get away with anything? Is that what you think it was?
He has to think he can get away with anything because he has the muscle and
which we spoke about tonight. You're going to face
Yeah.
him in the ring coming up. Yep.
he's got all that with him. So for him to pretty much do whatever he wants uncontested is a very hard thing to deal with. I mean, let that happen to me, and I can tell you, I don't give a damn how I'm feeling the next day. I'm coming after you.
Have you spoke to Rhea Silver since?
I have had no contact with Rhea. They're still waiting to see if she gets cleared.
I think a lot of people would like to know when that'll happen. I think that's a big question
Yeah.
right now in the company. I mean, we obviously hope for a speedy recovery. I think that's a fair statement to make, right? We would hope certainly to allow Rhea to be back in the ring and, see what happens more or less. I mean,
there's no room in our sport for that. That's just beyond me why he would do that.
Have you thought about that attack and kind of into where you are going into Saturday, or if that's something you want to talk about? If not, we can certainly understand, sympathize.
The stuff with Rhea, I guess I don't necessarily try to bring that in for the match with Surge.
Absolutely.
But if I get my hands on Jake Matthews again, that's definitely going to be. He might get the wrong side of the chair up across his head. So,
but Jake Matthews, in one way, called his own shot. I mean, he called his own shot and won, and he feels that he's on top and nobody can really do a damn thing about it. I mean, when he said those things, what did that make you feel? Because he's basically like, look, nobody can stop Redux. And until proven otherwise, it seems like, I mean, you're going to try this Saturday. You're making a strong case, but up until we'll find out on Saturday, nobody can do anything but like what Redux is doing, more or less. Or if you don't, get the hell out of their way.
Well, if you like what Redux is doing, there's definitely something wrong with it because they're not doing it the way it should be done. At least, I mean, I know I've been here a little amount of time, but he shouldn't be doing the things he's doing. Attacking people post match like that, handcuffing them. That is, I mean, he was very brutal in our match, but I mean, it was between the bell, so everything from bell to bell, I felt, had to be done to win that match. So I understand how he can be, but next time I get my hands on him, that's going to be in the back of my mind. That attack on Rhea.
But you're not fighting for Rhea Silver, though, this weekend.
This weekend, I mean, I'm not fighting for anybody other than myself. I mean, here's the thing. It kind of has its, side objective, because, if one domino falls, the potential of the other ones are much much higher to fall too. So if I knock down Surge, I've knocked down Zero. I have to knock down Surge and then Jake Matthews. Because God knows if Rain Man ever shows back up, he's been MIA. So, but if he comes back, he can get it just like the others.
Okay, I mean, I could certainly understand.
It's been my sole mission. I mean, early in the season, when they asked me to join Redux, and I told them, I probably dug my own grave here, Tom, but I pretty much told them to get bent. And
well,
then
you seem to fight for what's right. That's what I was going to ask you. You seem to do things in a way that you feel is not the way that Redux does it. I think that's pretty much a fair statement to say about you, more or less.
Yeah, because when they were creating Redux again, and it just seemed like he wanted to stack the deck in his favor, and I wasn't having any of that. And he probably thought since I was new, he could
push you around and
brainwash me, and I was like, that ain't happening. And then they all decided to beat me down. So I've been dealing with that.
But you're also, in a way, somebody that's resilient. You're somebody that hasn't given up. You're somebody that has pride. You're somebody that seems like no matter what, you'll continue to, give it the good fight, and you'll give it the college try, and maybe this Saturday fortunes will change more or less.
That is the plan.
Okay.
To show the rest of the roster, we don't have to be oppressed. We don't have to worry. We don't have to bend the knee to Jake Matthews and Redux. That we can stand up and fight.
Well, you definitely fight. I have no doubt that this knockout or submission match, you're going to definitely be doing a lot of fighting. And if you want to follow a company that I co-own now, the Pride Wrestling Federation, you can certainly do that. Yes, Jack Delta was on the stage, but we've got DSavage with us. And I don't know if Mr. Delta could match up with Mr. Savage, but I'm going to certainly plead the fifth on that because Mr. Savage is a friend, just like Mr. DSavage is a friend. But what I will ask you, though, is as we're getting ready for closing thoughts here, as I always ask wrestlers like yourself this question, we're coming on here, what are your goals this year coming up in wrestling for you?
My goal, honestly, is to somehow get the main event of Star Clash. That's kind of been my goal ever since the beginning of the season. I looked around. I asked myself, who do I got to beat to get there? I just got to keep putting in the work. I would say that's probably my biggest goal, and then just to improve every day as a wrestler.
What inspired you to go into wrestling?
I've been watching it as a kid my whole life, or I've been watching it since I was a kid.
You might be watching the light in the background because they have too many lights on. That probably is true. But
so I mean, I just loved everybody's, like, you can be who you want to be, really, and that's the best part about it. Like,
I agree.
You can do different things and still be successful.
I agree with you on all that. How excited are you to get ready for the next season coming up in NEW?
Man, I am pumped. I want to come in at even better shape than I'm in currently.
Wow, that's saying something considering the shape you're in.
Yeah, I've really been trying my hardest to stand out. To separate myself from everybody else. So I'm just going to continue to work hard. And
the best is yet to come. I truly believe that the best is yet to come. And I have no doubt that, in 6 months from now, when the season gets close to concluding, or I'm in the middle of it, or, next year at this time, you're going to be in places that, you're going to only truly have dreamed for, but have come to fruition.
Oh, man. 6 months.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Everybody on the roster, top to bottom, every taping, work harder and harder and harder.
You have a great roster. I watch a lot of wrestling, right? And I cover a lot of companies. And I don't just mean to say this because I happen to enjoy the product. And you guys are all such great people. I truly think that from top to bottom, this is as solid as a wrestling show that you're going to get. I think the people that work at it, yourself included, are solid of a people you're going to find. I think that the buzz coming up with the company is extremely exciting. I think the company's in good hands right now. I think the riot in the ring is very exciting. I think
Hmm.
for this season to conclude and go into the next season, which we're going to see in the next few months, is really exciting, which is why I truly believe that not only for you, but everybody you share a locker room with, the best is yet to come. I truly believe that.
I would agree with everything you just said.
And I want to say hello. Speaking of people that I actually co-own the PWF with, our good buddy who's in the Hall of Fame, Mr. Omen Black. He's also a hardcore guy, and he happens to know Gabe Sayers pretty well. He's actually a friend of Mr. Sayers, and he says, "Evening, welcome to my show, DSavage." So he says hello. He certainly gives his own proper introductions, and we certainly love that Omen is our own. Well, he was our first two-time Sports by Radio Hall of Fame. Maybe you'll be a two-time Sports by Radio Hall of Fame after you win on Saturday. Maybe we'll induct you after Saturday. But Omen, it's always good to see Omen Black. He is the boogeyman of the Midwest, but you might be the boogeyman of the Northeast. Maybe you can be the boogeyman of the Northeast, if that's such a thing. But I'll certainly take your advice and say we'll leave it to the ring. But I wanted to ask you then, as we're getting toward the end of the show, I know you got the dog in the background who probably wants to kill me for basically taking time away from your dog. We're here tonight with us, but what would be your final words, first of all, your final words for Jake Matthews, and then your final words for the man you're going to see in the ring this Saturday for that Northeast Championship here in New Underground Wrestling, Mr. Power Surge?
Well, to address Jake first,
Yes, he's here tomorrow. Because he's here tomorrow. He's actually here tomorrow when you're
Well,
in chair.
good.
Why not throw him in? Yeah.
Well, good. I want him to know that his days are numbered. I know last time he got the best of me, but just like every other match, I'm gonna watch and I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna come prepared the next time, and you're gonna see a completely different side, just like Power Surge is gonna on Saturday at Stay Alive. And finally, someone is going to end his reign of terror, and that's someone is me, and I'm going to be the new NEW Northeast champion.
You think it's possible that Jake Matthews maybe could be, I don't know, lost some of the appetite because, well, we know he's engaged now. He's going into the Hall of Fame. And, maybe in a way he's losing that hunger, maybe that desire, and that's going to reflect on this weekend coming up. You think that's a possibility?
I hope so. 'Cause, I mean, for someone else to beat him down would be great, so then I can do it just to say, he got beat down again. So the more Jake Matthews gets beat down, the happier I am. But I know the feeling is the same the other way. So.
And we know Power Surge is certainly going to be in for maybe the cord being turned off a little bit, or maybe the cord being wrapped around him, because you're going to certainly make sure that he is going to feel some of that pain, and kind of in a flick of the switch, he could be losing 2 championships to you. And I see the dog is in the background, so I will ask you one more question. My last question is, what do you want to say to anybody that was here tonight that heard you for the first time? What would you like to say to them?
Anybody that wants some, come to NEW. It's a great place to be.
Amen. Amen. I love this company, by the way. Love it.
They welcomed me in with open arms, pretty much day one. So great group of people, and I can always use some more talented people to wrestle. So
I love hearing that. I want to say thank you for saying that, because, before we get to close, I know the dog's in the background, but this is a company I truly feel good about talking about. And I wanted to be here tonight because I know I could have actually been stuck for hours. I'm like, I really wanted to be here. So thank you for messaging me on Instagram a few hours ago. I was like, I really wanted an excuse to get the hell out of where I was, and you gave me that opportunity. But, I really, really, really like this company. To me, there's a lot of companies, some companies come on here and the promoter or the owner, acts like a charlatan. He kind of comes across like, he's stuck in his ways, a bit of a dictator, doesn't treat his talent right, doesn't really, kind of wants to control who comes on, and, then kind of says things about the Hall of Fame on Sportswire. God bless him. It's America. You can have free speech. But to me, on the other hand, this company, though, is a company that gets it. This is a company that gives you a little bit of everything. This is a company that's got up and coming talent. This is a company that's got some of the top talent around. This is a company that wants to give you the biggest and the brightest around, and especially this Riot in the Ring coming up on June the 1st. I am very, very excited about. So these are things I cannot say enough to people. Go out and support New Underground Wrestling. YouTube, they've got almost 2,000 subscribers. Facebook, they've got almost 1,000 subscribers. Instagram, they've got well over 1,000 followers. And Patreon and DSavage, check him out. Check out everybody in the company because they truly are a company that definitely stands for what all wrestling matters should be about. I know you're a busy man. I know the dog's in the background, so I want to give you some closing thoughts, my friend. Got your social media up here still, and is there anything else you'd like to plug, share, or say? And I hope that I can have you back on here maybe in a couple of weeks. Mr. Matthews is here tomorrow, so you know he's going to be here, and I'm going to have some more talent coming up here. So hopefully you could come back on here maybe before the Riot in the Ring, which is crazy as it sounds, is almost like 7 weeks from now. So I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? Floor is yours.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely open to coming back, whether it be before Riot in the Ring or All Out War,
Yes.
our following event. But, just to touch on NEW real quick, I mean, I came in with little to no experience other than watching, and they used every tool they had to craft me and to help me get better. I'll admit, I'm not the best on the mic, but
you were not bad. You know what? I gotta tell you the truth. Some guys come on here and it's like you would think they would be good, and they were like, you were actually like, this was fun. You talked about Riot in the Ring. I gotta say, you definitely are a guy that backs it up more in the ring, but I gotta say, this was actually a lot of fun. I actually think you held your own tonight. So I will tell people on the air whether they can cut the mustard or not. You definitely can come on my platform or be on anybody's platform any day because you got my endorsement. So you definitely did pretty good tonight. I got to tell you the truth. 136 people seem to agreed. So,
well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that very much, and I'm very honored to be here.
And I'm honored to have you. And I love covering this company, and I love what New Underground Wrestling has to offer, and I love every wrestler that comes on the Sportzwire Radio because I truly believe in everybody that comes on this platform, and I truly want to give everybody a platform, and it's really my mission, and I will do anything I can to do. I will cut my own arm off if I could to help a wrestling company. I really would. I mean, I'm sure some people would like me to do that. They might want to cut my voice off too, but that's a different conversation for a different time. But I want everybody one more time to follow DSavage. Check him out on Instagram. Check out New Underground Wrestling. We have one more Vortex show coming up on Friday. Stay Alive is this Saturday. We're going to have Jake Matthews here. He's going to have a lot to say, I'm sure, tomorrow. He's going to have a lot to say. So you're going to certainly be in for that, and we'll have more coverage up from the company. And my friend, it has been absolute honor. Thank you so much for coming on here. I know the dog wants dog treats. I'm going to not keep you much longer, but thank you so much. I'm looking forward to watching the match on Saturday. I got actually nothing to do on Saturday. I may see Ghostbusters, so I've got your match to watch, the rest of the show, and go to a movie. So I'm very excited about that. Unless somebody says, do you want to go on Sportswire? But for now, I'm sticking to my plans, but we'll have to see. But I'm looking forward to the match. Thank you for all that you do for being a part of this great sport, being a part of All Wrestling Matters. And I can't wait to see what happens this weekend.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it.
You got it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the man that met the legend, Mr. DSavage himself, just literally hours before his match for the Northeast Championship against Power Surge, who was here just about 2 weeks ago. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of All Wrestling, where All Wrestling Matters. And one more time, 9 o'clock, Jake Matthews is here tomorrow to take his place into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He'll have a lot to say about this and certainly stay alive and whatever else he wants to say because he is Jake Matthews. He is the born to Battle Briefcase winner. And also, I want to say hello to a birthday boy from the TF Crew, YouTube champion, Angel Santiago. It's his birthday today. If I didn't mention that one, I would be hung, literally. So,
well, it's funny you mentioned Prince. Happy birthday, bud.
Yeah.
I just want you to know, keep that championship warm because I'm coming. All right.
Now you do know Mikey Anarchy's challenging for that, right?
I do, but I have my faith that me and Angel are destined to meet up. So he needs to keep his end of the bargain here.
So you think that? Wait. I'm gonna let you go. I know the dog's gonna kill me for this, but You think Santiago's going to beat Anarchy?
I do. Anarchy's on my list too. I have a lot of respect.
Anarchy just wrestled maybe the biggest match anybody could have on the biggest stage of them all at GTS against my guest last weekend, Rad Dad Radley Belmont, who, oh, by the way, is going to be in Death Row on June 15th. I mean, the world is just so small, but so you really think that Santiago can pull this out? You think he can do it?
I hope he does. I mean, I got to meet those guys at UWF last year,
Yes.
and I was in the ring with Angel, and that played out how it played out. I didn't get to wrestle Mikey. I got to watch him, and he's definitely a guy I want to wrestle. But I'm hoping, I guess I'll just spill the beans here. I'm hoping that Angel wins, because I exchanged an egg roll to Gabe Sayers for a shot at the TF Crew Championship. So I just want him to know I'm coming. I guess.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna make sure this goes out tonight. You know what? I tell you what, you definitely can play on my platform because you just basically shot your own shot out there and talked about Angel Santiago. And this would be a happy birthday, Angel Santiago. This turned into I want a match with him for the YouTube championship. And oh, by the way, Mikey Anarchy, you just had 30,000 people watch his match on YouTube. You basically saying that you think Angel's got a pretty good shot here to keep that championship. And Mikey Anarchy maybe wrestled the most unlikely match of his entire career just against Rad Dad Bradley Belmont, who's my friend and just came on the show. This world of wrestling is so small. It's like literally like we're all connected. I don't know what it is out there. Maybe it's like an eclipse. Maybe you saw the eclipse on Monday, and now all of a sudden you've had the eclipse right in front of your own very eyes, and you want Angel Santiago right after that. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
I want Angel, but I mean, if Mikey wins, if he can't get the job done and Mikey beats him, I mean, the deal was made. The egg roll was exchanged for the championship match. So whether it be Mikey Anarchy or Angel, I'm coming for the
you know what? I tell you what, you're definitely coming back on. Now, after what we just heard tonight, you're definitely coming on. I promise you that clip's going to go out in about 20 minutes. So you're really you're going for it here. Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, you better tune in tomorrow to Jake Matthews because I'm going to certainly talk about some of these things you said tonight. But again, if you're on Sportswire Radio, you're going back to your regular scheduled programming, please support our friends over at New Underground Wrestling. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global relation that is